Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to day 255 of Qur'an in a Year Plus, where we learn to look at the world and live life according to the lens of the Qur'an. Today we're going to be looking at verses 56 to 69 of Surah An-Naml. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فما كان جواب قومه إلا أن قالوا أخرجوا آل لوط من قريتكم إنهم أناس يتطهرون. The only response of Lut's people was that they said, "Expel the family of Lut from your town. They are people who keep themselves away from filth and impurity." They said this mockingly about the family of Lut because they did not join them in the immoral acts they were committing. Rather, they condemned them for committing those acts. فَأَنْجَيْنَاهُ وَأَهْلَهُ إِلَّا امْرَأَتَهُ قَدَّرْنَاهَا مِنَ الْغَابِرِينَ. So we saved him and saved his family, except for his wife. We decreed that she would be among those who remained behind in the punishment, so she would be among those destroyed. وَأَمْطَرْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ مَطَرًا فَسَاءَ مَطَرُ الْمُنذَرِينَ. And we rained down upon them stones from the sky. It was a terrible, destructive rain for those who had been warned of the punishment, but did not respond. قُلِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ وَسَلَامٌ عَلَىٰ عِبَادِهِ الَّذِينَ اصْطَفَىٰ اللَّهُ خَيْرٌ أَمَّا يُشْرِكُونَ. Say, O Messenger, all praise is for Allah for His favors and for protecting the Prophet ﷺ's companions from his torment that he inflicted upon the people of Lut and Saleh. Who is better? Allah, who is worthy of worship, and in His hand is the dominion of everything, or the idols that the polytheists worship, which cannot bring about any benefit or harm. أَمَّنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَأَنزَلَ لَكُم مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً فَأَنبَتْنَا بِهِ حَدَائِقَ ذَاتَ بَهْجَةٍ ما كان لكم أن تنبتوا شجرها أإله مع الله بل هم قوم يعدلون. Or who created the heavens and the earth without any previous example and sent down for you, O people, rainwater from the sky? Then by it we caused beautiful and delightful gardens to grow for you. You were not able to cause the trees of those gardens to grow because of your inability to do so. Allah alone is the one who caused them to grow. Is there any deity who did this along with Allah? No. Rather, they are a people who turn away from the truth, so they unjustly equate the Creator with created beings. أَمَّنْ جَعَلَ الْأَرْضَ قَرَارًا وَجَعَلَ خِلَالَهَا أَنْهَارًا وَجَعَلَ لَهَا رَوَاسِيَ وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَ الْبَحْرَيْنِ حَاجِزًا أَإِلَٰهٌ مَّعَ اللَّهِ بَلْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Or who made the earth a stable and settled place that does not shake with those living upon it, placed rivers flowing through it, set firm mountains upon it, and placed between the two seas, the salty and the fresh, a barrier that prevents the salty water from mixing with the fresh water and ruining it, so that it would no longer be suitable for drinking. Is there any deity who did that along with Allah? No. Rather, most of them do not know. If they truly knew, they would not associate any of His created beings with Allah. أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ وَيَجْعَلُكُمْ خُلَفَاءَ الْأَرْضِ أَإِلَٰهٌ مَّعَ اللَّهِ قَلِيلًا مَّا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Or who responds to the one whose situation has become constricted and severe when he calls upon him, removes the harm that afflicts a person, such as illness, poverty, and other hardships, and makes you successors upon the earth, one generation succeeding another? Is there any deity who does that along with Allah? No. Little is it that you take reminder and learn from these signs. أَمَّن يَهْدِيكُمْ فِي ظُلُمَاتِ الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ وَمَن يُرْسِلُ الرِّيَاحَ بُشْرًا بَيْنَ يَدَيْ رَحْمَتِهِ أَإِلَٰهٌ مَّعَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى اللَّهُ عَمَّا يُشْرِكُونَ. Or who guides you through the darkness of the land and the darkness of the sea by the landmarks and stars he has placed for you? And who sends the winds as glad tidings before the coming of his mercy, meaning the rain through which he shows mercy to his servants? Is there any deity who does that along with Allah? Exalted and pure is Allah, and far above what they associate with him of his created beings. أَمَّن يَبْدَأُ الْخَلْقَ ثُمَّ يُعِيدُهُ وَمَن يَرْزُقُكُم مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ أَإِلَٰهٌ مَّعَ اللَّهِ قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Or who begins creation in the wombs, stage after stage, then brings it back to life after causing it to die, and who provides for you from the sky through the rain that comes down from it, and provides for you from the earth through the plants he causes to grow within it. Is there any deity who does that along with Allah? Say, O Messenger, to these polytheists, bring your proofs for the shirk you are upon, if you are truthful in your claim that you are upon the truth. قُلْ لَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ الْغَيْبَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ أَيَّانَ يُبْعَثُونَ. Say, O Messenger, no one in the heavens and no one on the earth knows the unseen. Rather, Allah alone knows it, and all those in the heavens and on the earth do not know when they will be resurrected for recompense, except Allah. بل ادارك علمهم في الآخرة بل هم في شك منها بل هم منها عمون. Or has their knowledge of the hereafter reached completion so that they are certain of it? No, rather they are in doubt and confusion about the hereafter. In fact, their inner sight has become blind to it. وقال الذين كفروا أإذا كنا ترابا وآباؤنا أإنا لمخرجون. Those who disbelieve said in denial, when we die and become dust, along with our forefathers, can we really be brought out alive again? لقد وعدنا هذا نحن وآباؤنا من قبل إن هذا إلا أساطير الأولين. We and our forefathers were promised this before, that all of us would be resurrected, but we have not seen that promise come true. This promise that we were all given is nothing but the lies of the earlier people, which they recorded in their books. قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. Say, O Messenger, to those who deny resurrection, travel in any direction through the earth and reflect on how the end of the criminals who denied resurrection was. We destroyed them because of their denial of it. As we reflect over today's verses, Allah does not simply tell us to believe. He invites us to look, to think, to observe the world around us and the world within us. Allah asks, who made the earth stable beneath your feet? Who placed rivers through it? Who set mountains upon it? Who placed a barrier between the two seas? Who responds when the desperate person calls? Who removes harm? Who guides people through the darkness of land and sea? And after each of these signs, the question returns, is there any God with Allah? Ibn Uthaymeen mentions, in these verses is proof that Allah alone deserves worship. This is because affirming His Lordship, that He is the creator, the owner, the sustainer, necessarily requires affirming His sole right to worship. If He alone is the one who does all these things, then He alone must be the one worthy of worship. Allah, He says, is He not the one who made the earth a stable place, placed rivers throughout it, set firm mountains upon it, and placed a barrier between the two seas? Is there any God besides Allah? Rather, most of them do not know. Ibn Ashur mentions, this is an astonishing form of divine planning and management. The full wonder of this creation is only truly realized when one understands that this earth is floating in space and constantly moving every moment. Yet despite that, it appears perfectly stable to those living upon it. That is an even greater form of planning and control. Along with that stability comes mercy and blessing, because if the earth were not stable, people would constantly live in shaking and disturbance, and their daily lives and work would become difficult and exhausting for them. Every day we walk, work, sleep, and plan our lives on an earth Allah made stable for us. That stability is not random. It is Allah's creation and planning. The Qur'an teaches us not to look at the world as merely nature, but as signs pointing back to Allah. Allah, He says, is He not the one who responds to the desperate when He calls upon Him, removes hardship, and makes you successors upon the earth? Imam al-Qurtubi mentions, Allah the Most High guaranteed the response to the desperate person when he calls upon Him, and He informed us of this about Himself. The reason behind this is that desperation drives a person to seek refuge completely in Allah and detach the heart from everything else besides Him. Sincerity has a special status and sanctity with Allah, whether it comes from a believer or a disbeliever, an obedient person or a sinner. There are moments in our lives when we realize how powerless we are. When we experience sickness, loss, go through a crisis, deal with uncertainty, and in those moments, the heart naturally turns to Allah. Allah says, is He not the one who responds to the desperate when He calls upon Him? Ibn Uthaymeen mentions, in this verse is a lesson that a person must not turn his heart toward anyone besides Allah in seeking relief from hardship. He should not become attached to anyone other than Allah, because no one removes hardship except Allah. A person's attachment to other than Allah leads to disappointment and abandonment. Whoever becomes attached to something is left dependent upon it. At the same time, relying upon Allah and placing trust in Him does not contradict taking the necessary means, so long as the person believes that those means only function by Allah's decree and are not independently effective on their own. And that is the balance of tawakkul, that we take the means but our hearts rely upon Allah. And Tawheed is not just something we study, it is how we live life. When we are blessed, we thank Allah. When we are afraid, we rely upon Allah. When we are lost, we seek guidance from Allah. And when we are desperate, we call upon Allah. But when a person stops reflecting, the heart slowly changes. The signs are there, but they stop seeing them. The reminders come, but they stop feeling them. Allah, He says, rather their knowledge of the hereafter has completely failed them. Rather they are in doubt about it. Rather they are blind concerning it. Shaykh Asadi mentions, Allah moves through different descriptions of the condition of these deniers. First, He informs us that they do not know when the hereafter will occur. Then He informs us of the weakness and deficiency of their knowledge regarding it. Then He describes them as being in doubt about it. Then He describes them as blind concerning it. Then He informs us that they outright deny it and consider its occurrence far-fetched. Because of these states, fear of the hereafter departed from their hearts. As a result, they became bold in committing sins against Allah. Rejecting the truth became easy for them, and believing falsehood became easy for them. They gave preference to desires and temptations over worship and obedience, and so they lost both their worldly life and their hereafter. Notice the progression: weakness in belief, then doubt, then blindness, then denial. And spiritual decline is usually gradual, and every repeated action shapes the heart. If a person isn't careful,
Then slowly sins become easier, reminders affect the heart less, doubts increase, desires dominate, truth becomes uncomfortable, and eventually the heart may become spiritually blind. And Ibn Uthaymeen mentions, in this verse is a lesson that a person who does not truly want the truth progresses through levels of deviation, with some stages being worse than others. A person moves from one level to the next. That is why the scholars say disobedience is the pathway leading to disbelief, meaning that a person gradually moves from one stage to another, just as mail is passed from one station to the next. When a person commits a sin, whether it is a sin of belief or a sin in actions, Shaitan gradually pulls them from lower levels to higher and more dangerous levels until eventually, Allah protect us, the person may reach disbelief itself. That is why we must protect the heart. What you repeatedly watch matters. Who we surround ourselves with matters. What we normalize matters. The heart is always moving either toward Allah or away from Him. And Allah, He says, bring your proof if you are truthful. Al-Qassabi says, in this verse is proof that every person making a claim is required to establish and support it with evidence and proof. The Qur'an constantly calls people to think, reflect, observe, and examine evidence. This builds intellectual honesty and teaches us not to follow ideas blindly simply because they are popular, inherited, or emotionally appealing. A believer should learn to seek evidence before accepting claims, to think critically and honestly, to be humble enough to follow the truth once it becomes clear. And Shaykh As-Sa'di, he says, bring your proof, meaning bring your evidence and argument for what you are claiming, if you are truthful. Otherwise, if you claim that idols share with Allah in any of these matters, then this is nothing more than a claim that must be supported with proof. If you cannot do so, then know that you are upon falsehood and have no evidence whatsoever. So return instead to the certain evidences and decisive proofs that show Allah alone is unique in controlling all affairs, and that He alone deserves for every type of worship to be directed to Him. The repeated question we see in these verses, is there any God with Allah? This forces the heart to reflect. Who created? Who controls everything? Who provides? Who answers? Who guides? Who removes harm? If Allah alone does all of this, then why would we turn away from Him to anything else? So as we walk away from today's episode, let's turn to Allah first in moments of stress and hardship. When anxiety, fear, confusion, or difficulty hits, pause before immediately panicking or emotionally collapsing. Make dua first, pray first, ask Allah first. Let's build a habit of the heart naturally returning to Allah before anything else. We ask Allah to make our hearts attached to Him alone and grant us true reliance upon Him in all our affairs. And we ask Him to not let our hearts deviate after He has guided us and protect us from doubt, heedlessness, and the hardness of the heart. I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.